The rain was relentless, a torrential downpour that turned streets into raging rivers. Sirens wailed in the distance, a constant, mournful chorus against the roar of the water. For Sarah, a barista who barely made ends meet, the world she knew was literally washing away. From her second-story apartment window, she watched the chaos unfold. Cars were submerged, debris churned in the brown, murky currents, and the cries for help were getting fainter, swallowed by the storm. Her heart pounded with a mix of fear and a desperate sense of helplessness. The city had issued evacuation orders hours ago, but her old building was her only sanctuary, and she had nowhere else to go. She had her cat, Leo, curled up in a basket, and a backpack with a few essentials. That was her whole world. Just as a fresh wave of despair washed over her, she saw him, a man clinging desperately to a lamppost, the water rising rapidly around his chest. He was losing his grip, his face a mask of terror as the current tugged and pulled at him. People on other rooftops were watching, paralyzed, too far, or too scared to help. The rescue boats were overwhelmed, their engines straining somewhere in the distance. Sarah knew if someone didn't do something in the next few moments, he would be gone. Without a second thought, a surge of adrenaline she didn't know she possessed took over. She grabbed a coil of old rope she kept for laundry, tied one end securely to the sturdy iron railing of her balcony, and tested it with all her weight. It held. Shouting to him, her voice raw and hoarse, "Hold on, I'm coming." She threw the other end of the rope into the churning water. It fell. Again, she threw it, her muscles screaming with the effort. This time, it landed just within his reach. He lunged for it, his fingers fumbling but finally closing around the lifeline. The pull was immense. The current fodder, trying to rip the rope from her hands and steal the man away. Her palms burned, the coarse fibers digging into her skin. She gritted her teeth, planting her feet, and leaning back with every ounce of strength she had. It was a brutal tug-of-war against nature itself. Slowly, inch by agonizing inch, she pulled him closer. He was heavy, waterlogged, and half-conscious, but he held on. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he was close enough to grab onto the lower rungs of her fire escape. With a final, desperate heave, she helped him crawl over her balcony railing and collapse onto the floor, shivering and gasping for air. He lay there for a long time, coughing up water, his body trembling uncontrollably. Sarah wrapped him in the only dry blankets she had, made him some hot tea on her small camping stove, and shared her dwindling supply of granola bars. He could barely speak, managing only a weak thank you between shivers. He introduced himself as Arthur. He had been trying to get to his office to secure important documents when his car was caught in a flash flood. He looked like any other man caught in the disaster, disheveled, terrified, and utterly exhausted. They spent the night listening to the storm, two strangers bonded by a near-death experience, finding a small pocket of safety in a world gone mad. Sarah never once thought about who he was or what he did. She just saw a person who needed help, and she acted. The next morning, the waters began to recede. Rescue crews finally made it to their block, their boats navigating the now passable streets. As they were being helped into one of the boats, Arthur turned to Saren, his eyes filled with a profound gratitude that left her speechless. "I don't know how I can ever repay you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved my life. You're my guardian angel." Sarah just shook her head, smiling faintly. "Anyone would have done the same," she replied, though they both knew that wasn't true. They exchanged numbers, a simple act that felt monumental, and were taken to separate shelters. Life for Sarah slowly returned to a semblance of normal. Her apartment was damaged but salvageable. She went back to her job at the coffee shop, the memory of the flood a surreal and distant nightmare. She thought about Arthur sometimes, hoping he was okay, but didn't expect to hear from him again. People make promises in moments of crisis, she thought, and life moves on. Then, a week later, she got a call. It was an assistant, speaking in a crisp, professional tone, asking if Miss Sarah Collins would be available to meet with Mr. Arthur Vance. The name sounded familiar, but she couldn't place it. Curiosity piqued. She agreed. The meeting was at a sleek, high-rise office building downtown, a world away from her cozy, cluttered apartment. When she was shown into the penthouse office, her jaw dropped. There, sitting behind a massive oak desk with a panoramic view of the recovering city, was Arthur. He wasn't the shivering, terrified man she had pulled from the flood. He was dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, his demeanor calm and commanding. He stood up, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Sarah, please, come in." He explained everything. Arthur Vance wasn't just some man caught in a storm. He was the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech corporation, one of the city's most influential and wealthiest figures. He had been on his way to his office to retrieve the company's server backups, a move that would save thousands of jobs and prevent a corporate catastrophe. Sarah was stunned into silence. She had saved a millionaire. Arthur told her that his brush with death had given him a new perspective. "I've spent my life building an empire, Sarah," he said, his voice earnest. "But in that water, none of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was a simple act of human kindness. Your kindness." He explained that he wanted to do more than just say thank you. He wanted to truly repay her. He had learned about her struggles, her dream of opening her own small bakery, a dream she'd long given up on as impossible. He offered to fund her entire business, from the ground up. Not as a loan, but as a gift, an investment in her, he called it. Sarah was overwhelmed. Tears welled in her eyes as she tried to process the sheer magnitude of his offer. It felt like a fairy tale. But this was real. Her act of selfless courage had not only saved a man his life, but had also unlocked a future she had only ever dreamed of. Months later, the Lifeline Bakery opened its doors. It was a beautiful, cozy shop filled with the scent of fresh bread and pastries. It quickly became a local favorite, not just for its delicious treats, but for the story behind it. Sarah wasn't just a baker. She was a local hero. Arthur became a regular customer and a close friend. He told her that she hadn't just saved his life. She had reminded him of what was truly important. Inspired by her, he established a citywide disaster relief foundation, ensuring that, in future crises, people would have the resources and help they needed. Sarah's single act of bravery created a ripple effect she could never have imagined. It transformed her own life, gave a powerful man a new purpose, and ultimately made their entire community stronger. It's a powerful reminder that you never know the impact one moment of courage can have. It can change a destiny, it can inspire a generation, and it can prove that the greatest treasures in life aren't money or power, but kindness and compassion. What would you have done in that situation? It's moments like these that truly define us. Thank you for watching, and if this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. See you next time.